What was it that first, I mean, you did share as a child that was the first sound that you'd heard. But to go on creating it the way you have been, what is it like?
I guess I'm constantly inspired, to create different and sometimes more epic versions of the national anthem because I think it's a melody that absolutely deserves it.
And what was it like to assemble this very extraordinary ensemble of
It was a huge blessing. It was a huge blessing.
I think there is a kind of a distance between our cultural legacy and the generation now.
Correct.
So what was that like?
It's always fantastic. I love music education as a concept itself because I think music education is really important to uplift the art form itself.
Our national anthem and the sounds that they are used to are very different.
Correct.
What was like blending it? Also the tenors, like orchestra. I'm
Yeah.
not a musically sound person, but I love music. What was that like?
Before I started recording with them, just before we started the recording, I sort of gave a short speech to them and I told them that, that after you guys have ruled us for 200 years,
Good one.
you better do a good job.
I'll tell you something. They usually say, "Pata nahi whether an Indian musician will get an award or not." My Ricky Kej ko to mil jayega Grammy. What do you have to say to that? What is the secret to get a Grammy
This
award?
year, some amazing Indian musicians got the Grammy.
You've made it a habit of collecting, as I would say, awards and creating these beautiful versions of the Indian national anthem. And when I heard this one, I had goosebumps. I think that
thank
happens when you listen to the national anthem.
Of course.
What was it that first, I mean, you did share as a child that was the first sound that you'd heard. But to go on creating it the way you have been, what is it like?
I guess I'm constantly inspired, to create different and sometimes more epic versions of the national anthem because I think it's a melody that absolutely deserves it. It's a zero controversy melody, a zero controversy song. It's a song that is loved by every single person in this nation, no matter what their ideologies are, what their religion are,
Absolutely.
which geographic location they come from. So it's a song that brings all of us together. And I don't know. Last year when I did the version of the national anthem with the symphony orchestra, I thought this would be the end of it. I'm never going to be able to better this. But then we are here today with a new version. So I guess I'm going to continue making newer and more different versions of the national anthem forever.
And what was it like to assemble this very extraordinary ensemble of
It was a huge blessing. It was a huge blessing, sometimes I think about it that how I mean, where have I reached in my career? Where I'm able to even talk to such people and I'm able to be in their presence. I've always had this rule in my career that whenever I collaborate with a musician, that musician has to be better than me because that's the only way I can learn, and that's the only way I can grow. And here it was just exemplified over here. Watching these musicians create magic. Even when I compose music, which is not the national anthem, my regular music that I compose, I never go planned into a studio when I'm working with musicians like this. I always go slightly unplanned, just with the basic framework of what I want. Because if I go extremely planned, and if I write down the notes that I want them to play, then I'm limited by my own imagination.
Yeah.
And I'm limited by my own musical knowledge. But then when I showcase my melodies to musicians such as these, and they interpret the melody in their own way, bring in their life experiences, bring in their music knowledge, their own virtuosity, and and their own skill to it. They just take the composition to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
And that's what happened with the national anthem. The notes are the same, but the way they play it, that's what makes the difference.
Absolutely. You said something really nice is legends like these don't have egos. They're very
Absolutely.
humble. I think that's also the reason for their success and also the fact that the music remains so timeless. The contribution remains so timeless.
You cannot be this successful if you're a bad human being. It's just not possible. So I believe that they're good human beings. You cannot be this skilled at a musical instrument which is based on feel.
Yeah.
If you're a bad human being.
And vibes. You give up those vibes.
Exactly. So you cannot play this melodically. You cannot control your musical instrument in the way that these brilliant musicians control their musical instrument. If you are a bad person, and that's what it is with them. They're just marvelous human beings, and they're good at what they do.
I would always say, look at Hariji. I have been meeting him for like 28 years.
Lucky you.
I know, and I would actually say he's the last of the Mughals when it comes to our Indian classical music. What was it like working with him?
I've never met him before in my life. I'd never met him, and it was a very long shot that he would actually show up for this recording and he would agree to be a part of this recording. Luckily, he agreed, and he showed up at the studio. And when he came to the studio, I had the opportunity of of holding his hand and bringing him inside, and and of course I touched his feet, got blessings from him, And then while he was setting up, and they were setting up his headphones and setting up the microphone and things like that, and also setting up the lighting because we were also filming it. That time I was just standing in front of him and I was wondering that, like, wow, I'm in this guy's presence, I'm in Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia's presence, and I just got blessed by him.
Wow.
Well, it's such a blessing for your career to, to have these experiences.
Absolutely. And you've also created a world record of sorts,
Yeah.
and getting 14,000 kids. I mean, wonderful. And also the fact that you are also imparting knowledge to them, because I really feel these is not many. Yeah, I think there is a kind of a distance between our cultural legacy and the generation now.
Correct.
So what was that like?
It's always fantastic. I love music education as a concept itself, because I think music education is really important to uplift the art form itself. We do not all have to be professional musicians, but as long as our audiences have some sort of sensitization to the art form, then what happens is that we as musicians, we can create better and better music, and we don't have to constantly think that we have to dumb down our music, or people will not understand our music, or people will not appreciate it. So I guess we need to create a generation of music appreciators, and that's what we did with these 14,000 kids. We taught them the basic notes, we taught them the basic scales, we taught them basic rhythm.
Wow.
And when we did all of that, these kids, they are going to learn how to appreciate music in a much better fashion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also, I was really intrigued, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
Also our national anthem and the sounds that they are used to are very different.
Correct.
What was like blending it? Also the tenors, in like orchestra. I'm
Yeah.
not a musically sound person, but I love music. What was that like?
So the Symphony Orchestra, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, I've collaborated with them multiple times in the past, and I love working with them each and every time that I work with them. In my opinion, they are the best orchestra in the whole world. So I actually, before I started recording with them, like, just before we started the recording, I sort of gave a short speech to them, and I told them that, that after you guys have ruled us for 200 years,
Good one.
you better do a good job, And they took it in the best spirit possible, and I can tell you this with full conviction that even though I've collaborated with them multiple times in the past and recorded with them on multiple projects, they gave their real best to this one, because all of them felt that we have a responsibility to give our best to the Indian National Anthem, and I've never heard them perform this well.
Oh,
Yeah.
how lovely, how lovely. What's interesting, I mean, you've made it a habit of winning the Grammy, as I would say. Like, your shelves must be weighing down with the awards. I like the fact that you said, a lot of people say, oh, I'm not bothered with awards. But I would feel an award for anyone is a validation of what you do.
Of course, it is an absolute validation. Not just a validation, but as I mentioned earlier, it's also a platform for you to do bigger and better things. Because at the end of the day, as an artist or as a musician, you just want to keep growing. You want to probably grow your audience. Maybe not. Maybe you want to grow your audience, but you want to grow as an artist. And the only way for you to grow as an artist is for you to have this platform to do bigger and better things.
Absolutely.
To collaborate with people who you've always wanted to collaborate with, to learn from other people. And this is possible when you win awards, simply because people recognize you a lot easier, and people take you more seriously.
I'll tell you something. They usually say, "Pata nahi whether an Indian musician will get an award or not. My Ricky Kej ko to mil jayega Grammy." What do you have to say to that? What is the secret to get a Grammy award?
This year, some amazing Indian musicians got the Grammy. That is the band Shakti got it.
Yes.
That is, Shankar Mahadevan got it, and Rakesh Chaurasia. Who else?
There was someone last year also. I forget the lady.
But it was quite amazing that we have classical musicians who are winning the Grammy.
Absolutely.
Because the thing about classical musicians is that classical musicians have truly broken cultural barriers everywhere in the world, and they've reached out to audiences that would normally not be exposed to Indian culture and Indian music. I'll give you an example. Let's say a Bollywood musician. Bollywood musicians perform everywhere in the world. They are able to fill up stadiums. They're able to fill up complete theaters and audiences. But the only people who show up for their concerts are people from the Indian diaspora.
Yeah.
They are the only people who show up. Because Bollywood, no matter what anybody says, Bollywood has not actually broken cultural barriers, except for maybe 3 or 4 songs that you can actually count on your fingers.
Absolutely.
Bollywood in general has not broken cultural barriers. Whereas if you look at a person like Pandit Ravi Shankar, when I was 19, I had watched a concert of his in the Bay Area. And I was very shocked, because up until then I'd seen a bunch of Bollywood shows.
Yeah.
But when I watched Pandit Ravi Shankar's concert, the diversity of people in the audience was very representative of the diversity of the city itself.
Absolutely.
It was almost an entirely Caucasian population, a couple of African Americans,
Wow.
Asian Americans, and a few Indian people. But it was very representative of the demographic of that particular city. And then I ended up watching a bunch more of his concerts. I watched about 3-4 of his concerts, and it was the same everywhere. And then I realized that this gentleman is playing pure Indian classical music. And the concerts that I watched of his were not even fusion. They were pure Indian classical
Wow.
music. And he was getting audiences everywhere in the world to listen to him. But at the same time, let's do an experiment. If you go out in the street, like in Delhi over here, you meet as many people as you want, and you ask them, name one song of Pandit Ravi Shankar. Nobody can name it.
You know, this is what I was just coming to, because recently we lost Yamini Krishnamurti.
Yep.
And a lot of people said, it's just so sad that there's a disconnect.
Yep.
I mean, the ones who know about her are either no longer there or are really old. The young generation, handful would
Yeah.
know. So that comes to educating children. And also we no longer have concerts. People want passes. They're no longer the bet is happening.
But Pandit Ravi Shankar moved abroad.
Yeah.
Ustad Zakir Hussain moved abroad. Anushka Shankar doesn't live in India. So that is the problem. So I believe that what's happening right now in India is that the Bollywood music industry and the pop music industry has got such a huge marketing machinery. And nowadays gone are the days rather, that people actually go out to try to listen to music. They only listen to the music that comes to them, music that is being fed to them. And unfortunately, the only music that is fed to people is the music that has got a very strong marketing machinery.
Absolutely.
And so that is why what needs to happen is that if classical music needs to be appreciated by a larger audience, there needs to be a machinery to help it reach people.
Exactly.
That is it needs to be a concentrated effort. There needs to be a lot of will to do that, because when a person who normally says that I only listen to pop music or I only listen to Bollywood music, if you expose them to a Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia concert, they will be mesmerized immediately.
Absolutely.
But the problem is that the gatekeepers believe that our audiences are very dumb. That is the issue.
Absolutely. No, you have a point here, because, also the way it's marketing, the way it's
Yeah.
showcased, classical music will be boring.
It's boring.
I'd rather go to a concert. And
Exactly.
I totally get that, because when you go to Vienna, you see the Mozart Symphony,
Yes.
and if there's a concert happening and somebody is just like playing
Absolutely.
Mozart. So I get that. Also, you are part of the curriculum in school.
Yes.
Your journey.
Yes.
What has changed, I would say, from Winds of Samsara to Divine Tides?
So I guess, of course, with Winds of Samsara, as I mentioned, the award was a huge platform. I was doing a lot of concerts outside of India, and I had a strong follower base outside of India. But then after the award, a few people in India started taking me seriously. And slowly that audience built. And now I've got a good I've got a good number of followers in India. And now I'm doing a whole lot of concerts. Last year I did about more than 30 concerts in
Wow.
India. And about 77 in total, but more than 30 in India. This year I decided to concentrate a lot on India, and I decided to cut down on my traveling. Last year was 17 countries. This year I'm just going to be doing 3 countries, and I'm going to be concentrating on doing as many concerts in India as possible, because I feel that more and more Indian people will like my music if they're exposed to it.
No, I totally agree. And also, with today's stress on mental health and all, they say classical music is actually rejuvenating for the
It's
soul.
funny that you
And
mentioned that, because I'm releasing an album at the end of this month, which is going to be about mental health.
Oh, awesome. So that comes next. Such a pleasure speaking with
I
you.
don't know if I was supposed to say that, but it's all right. But it's
Yeah, because chakra healing, they say,
Yeah.
keep listening to the sounds.
No, I meant I was not. I'm not sure whether I was allowed to say it in terms of marketing or whatever.
No. But
that's all right.
it is required. We do need that. Thank you so much. Such a pleasure
you so
speaking
much.
to you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Don't miss out. Follow Oneindia for real-time updates.